our very special guest in this hour is Mark Gatiss. What are you doing there, Mark?
I'm here just to see American Ultra, which is on the pictures. I'm not going to go now. I'm just going to watch the trailer. Maybe that's the right length for it.
Honestly, it is becoming increasingly the case, Mark, that you see trailers and you think that's the movie.
They give away the twist sometimes.
Yeah. Not. I mean, there are, and also the amount of trailers which now feature the very final shot. But if you see the trailer, for example, for Vacation, the remake of Vacation, the trailer's, it's a pretty sharp bit of comedy at 2 minutes long. But when you see that over the space of an hour and 40 minutes, it's not well timed. Yeah, so Mark is here as a special guest of the Shetland Screenplay Film Festival this evening. We are showing Adventure in Space and Time, which is a wonderful piece that he did about the creation of Doctor Who. And then we're going to have a Q&A. Have you seen Adventure in Space and Time on a big screen before?
Yes.
With an audience?
Yes.
Tell us about the creation of it, because it's such a great piece of work. For those who don't know, it's about William Hartnell being cast, and tell us about it.
Well, it was commissioned for the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who a couple of years ago. I mean, it was really a pet project of mine for years. I first pitched it about 10, 12 years ago, and I hadn't worked on it every day since, but it really has been going on that long. And so to finally get it off the ground was amazing. And the strange thing is, it's not. I mean, John Pertwee was my Doctor, but the beginnings of Doctor Who were always a kind of like a creation myth to me. I grew up with that story about those amazing people who just put it together with no money and lots of amazing ideas, and I found the whole process was fantastic, and David Bradley is amazingly touching as Hartnell,
and a complete dead ringer for him on screen, which is extraordinary, because actually when you look at him you don't immediately think that is William Hartnell. But you said that thing about Pertwee was your first, because I'm 52 and you are
19.
Fine. Yeah. So my first Doctor Who was Troughton, who turns up at the end of this story, and yet there is something so iconic about Hartnell's version because when they first invented Doctor Who, the first thing they said is, well, he has to be about 700 years old, and Hartnell was the only one of them who actually looked like he was about 700.
And he was
years
only
old.
55, but as you know, everyone was older then. I mean, he people looked so much. I've got pictures of my grandparents on the beach. My granddad in a three-piece suit with his trousers turned up and his hat on, and he was probably about 45. He's probably about 48, which is what I am, and he looks about 70 then. Everybody, they had very hard lives, I think, and Hartnell was an extraordinary man, really, and not an obvious choice, but the part completely changed his life. So it was a celebration, really, and in so many ways, but also a kind of, well, really a love letter to the show for me.
With your work on Doctor Who and Sherlock, and you achieved extraordinary success, are you still as much of a fan as you always used to be? Because you once said that you were the sort of, the uber fan. Are you still a fan?
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it does. To be honest, I mean, Doctor Who and Sherlock Holmes were the two things I loved most when I was a kid, and I still are. I mean, what happens is the experience of working on them is sort of still divorced from the original feeling. It's kind of tied up with it, but Doctor Who is now not an exercise in nostalgia. It's an ongoing, living, breathing, brand new show with a new audience. Sherlock is a new show, but so I can still sort of compartmentalize. I don't feel like the fact that it's very hard work and takes an awful lot of effort and time, it doesn't sort of impinge on those memories. I can kind of mesh them all together. Thank God.
How do you find time to get everything done? Because you've got all that going on. You've been on stage. You've got a break from the stage show at the moment. Tell us about the stage show.
It's called 3 Days in the Country. It's a new adaptation of the Turgenev play A Month in the Country by Patrick Marber. And it's going very well. But we're at the National, so we're in rep, so I'm able to come to Shetland. And then going to Sweden on holiday.
Very good, but you're not going directly from Shetland. You're going back to
I don't know why.
Back to Heathrow first, which makes no sense whatsoever.
We've got to get everything ready for the ABBA Museum, which is in fact the principal reason for going to Sweden.
And film stuff. I know there's stuff in the pipeline, some stuff that you can't talk about, but the film, you will be returning to the world of film very soon.
Hope so. Yes, actually, I did quite a few cameos last year. I mean, I say that as if my name's been put in a special box. I just have small parts in them. I'm in Victor Frankenstein, which amazingly is my first horror movie.
Wow.
Which
after all this time.
Yeah, has directed with Daniel Radcliffe and James McAvoy. I'm in a new Le Carré film called Our Kind of Traitor, which I saw a couple of months ago, which is great, I think, and Dad's Army, which is out next year.
Oh wow, of course, yeah. And we should just ask you, because earlier on this week, as you know, Wes Craven died. Anybody who's interested in horror, I think, has a huge amount of respect for Wes Craven. Certainly one of the most articulate champions of horror cinema. Always a terrific interview. And I think a brilliant filmmaker. Kim Newman tweeted, Wes Craven reinvented horror at least 4 times. Most people struggle to do it even once.
Yes, absolutely.
What was your thoughts about his work and his life?
I always got the impression, I never met him actually. Strangely enough, when I was doing my history of horror, we chose to stop at Halloween just because we sort of had to stop somewhere. But I remember him being in the mix of potential interviewees, and it never quite happened. But I wish I had met him, because he always seemed very gentle, but also in something which is rare. He was very happy to be accepted for doing something that people loved. And I suppose he probably wanted to make some sort of Civil War epic at some point in his life, but he'd become a horror director, but he was actually seemed very at peace with that.
Yeah.
And as you say, I mean, to sort of create the slasher genre and then completely reinvent it, for another generation with Scream, and then of course the Last House on the Left, etc., those earlier ones. I think he was as ever, a very underrated filmmaker.
I think he was extraordinary in what he managed to do. As you say, always completely at peace with that. And the thing that I always loved about him is he always described horror in very positive terms. He always said it was a celebration. He said famously, horror films don't create fear, they release fear.
Yeah.
And he absolutely saw the experience of watching horror as being boot camp for the soul. You work out all your fears in a safe environment.
Why do we keep having to have this argument? I mean, it's basically what the Greeks did.
Yes.
That's how it started. The point of it is catharsis.
Can I ask you about your outfit in Frankenstein, please?
My outfit?
Your outfit, because I still think one of the scariest things I've seen is you in Wolf Hall, and that hat that you wore as you emerged again from some...
It's called a coif, that
is
thing. It? Yeah, and...
How'd you spell that?
COI...
Like quiff. It must be it.
I'll come back to it. I think
is that where the quiff came from?
You know that it's one of those droopy sort of Terry Gilliam things that you put over your face, and then the hat on top. That's all it was. And yet 5 people I thought were friends, including my brother, asked me if I was wearing a false nose.
Because I didn't have a problem with your nose. It was you were fantastic at sinister.
No, but it's sort of, it accentuates certain features a lot. So in Victor Frankenstein, I wear a rather beautiful Victorian lab coat, etc.
Lovely. And what is it that you can't tell us about?
Oh, I can't.
He can't tell you about.
Well, vaguely, vaguely.
Mark, I shouldn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Well, I don't know anything about it, so is it a movie that you can't tell us about?
Well, wait and see. It's exciting, isn't it?
Well, listen, since you can't tell us about that, just spend a few minutes explaining.
Don't tell me about something else.
Explaining to Simon, because he won't come to Shetland. I know you only just arrived here yesterday, but your impression of
Will he not come?
Shetland.
Why won't you come, Simon?
It's the fact I have other shows to do, which don't necessarily benefit from being at a film festival in Shetland.
Well, we...
What do you mean, well? It just happens to be the fact that on Thursday night and on Friday night I do my radio.
He means make the effort, Mayo.
You could have a holiday. Yeah. Come on. Take it in lieu.
Well, we have to leave this interview there. Just,
well, we arrived yesterday, and it's fantastic to... And rather surprising, you have to get a tiny propeller plane from Edinburgh. And it was so much like the beginning of The Wicker Man, which of course is my entire expectation of this journey. I thought, well, here we go. And so far it's been lovely.
Are you in the room next to Britt Eklund?
She's banging on the walls now. No, actually, no. It's
the double.
It's the double. It's a stripper from Glasgow.
Just like normal. Chris in Watford, does Mark have any plans to make a film or TV drama about Lucifer Box, or to write any Lucifer Box stories? Any new ones?
No plans to do any new ones. Well, I have actually twice failed to get it off the ground as a TV series. It hasn't quite worked.
You have to say, if you've failed because you are so hot on television, and why can't you get your own show away? Come on.
I wish I knew. To be honest, it is an abiding thing. I think a lot of people assume I kind of walk into New Broadcasting House and say, I'd quite like to do the Mayor of Casterbridge, and someone gives me a bag of money. I wish that were the case, because I'd love to do the Mayor of Casterbridge. But no, in fact, it happens more often than you'd think, and it's just difficult really. To be honest, the difficult thing is trying to get a new thing off the ground. Obviously, Doctor Who is a massively successful reinvention, which I'm very privileged to be part of, and Sherlock, of course, is another incarnation of the most filmed character in fiction, but they are titanic. I'm going to use the word, I hate it, but they are titanic brands, and Sherlock Holmes particularly is known across the world. But anything new, like Lucifer Box, people, they get nervous, and when they get nervous when they have to spend money, and that's how it always goes. It's a tough thing, but the problem is trying to convince people that there would never be those brands in the first place if Southern hadn't taken a risk a long time ago.
Just one more. Gary in Bicester says, can you ask Mark Gatiss, please, can you say, first of all, how much I enjoyed his contribution to the Hammer Horror Blu-ray releases? And does he have any plans or ambitions to write a future Hammer film? Now, that would be something.
Well, wouldn't it?
Oh. I'm just reading out a question. Have I stumbled?
I'm just chuckling.
Have I stumbled upon a forbidden area?
Maybe. No, I'd love to. I think, I'm so thrilled at their success, because anybody who knows anything about horror, or Hammer particularly, there's been so many false dawns over the years. There was a period where the Today programme, I think, just kept the old tape of saying, and back from the grave.
That's right.
And someone would announce Hammer was being revived, and then it never happened. And the incredible thing is they've just done it. They're just making movies very successfuled. Incredibly, their distribution arm is called Exclusive Pictures, which is what it was back in the 30s and 40s. And more power to their elbow. I think they're doing a terrific job.
I remember I did a documentary back in the mid 90s about and it was called the Rise and Fall and Rise of Home, and it ended up with they're back, yes. And then they weren't for another 10 years. But yes, as you say, now they have successfully reinvented themselves, which is terrific.
Yeah.
Mark, we appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Have
nice
a very
to see
good.
you or hear you,
Yes.
as ever.
Have a very good night tonight.